continue talking today about fear, something that we started yesterday. And it's important to continue understanding what the true foundational definition of fear is. It's often misunderstood that fear has two different meanings. One meaning is that it is worship or reverential awe, and another meaning that it is anxiety. And if we look at the Hebrew definition of fear, we can see that fear means an outpouring or an outflowing, like a river is the way it would be described. So when we fear God, we are giving an outpouring or allowing an outpouring of worship and reverential awe. And that's the correct use of fear. That's what God tells us to do when he says to fear him only. And that's correct. Where it is incorrect and where we get into trouble is when we stop fearing God and we begin to fear our surroundings or our situations. So, as a reminder, love is what is the mechanism that we use to fear God, to provide an outpouring of emotion and love and worship toward him. Anxiety is the mechanism that Satan uses to get us to stop worshiping and fearing God and to begin to fear our problem or a difficult situation or our surroundings or something that we're going through. And by definition, fear doesn't change. It is the application of fear that changes. Fearing God or fearing your situation. And that is where the misunderstanding comes from, where people believe that fear can have two definitions, and it doesn't. It has two applications, same meaning. A beautiful example of the application of fear comes from the book of Job. Job is not just a story of heartache and hardship and despair. Many times Job is referred to as, poor old Job. And oftentimes we as individuals can relate to what Job went through in a way, but we begin to identify with Job and we actually, refer to ourselves as, I'm just like poor old Job. And if we will step back and learn what happened with Job and what the cause was, the root cause of why he went through all that, we can apply that to our own lives and not see that the book of Job, is not about hardship and woes and tragedy, but it's actually a beautiful story of how a man who once feared God and became righteous and wealthy and very successful, but then he began fearing losing all this, losing his dynasty, losing his kingdom, and he began fearing his situation, that it would no longer be. Job began fearing something other than God, and that is how the enemy gained access into his life. And ultimately, that's not the end of the story. the entire book, as you see it through, the entire story of Job has a wonderful ending, one of encouraging growth and rejuvenation, where Job began to fear God again. So he feared God, he feared his situation, had terrible tragedy, and then God worked with them to get him to fear God only once again. And so it's actually a beautiful story when you look at the whole thing. And yes, there's some tragedy in it, but the key to what happened to Job is often overlooked, and I'm going to give credit to Brother Keith Moore of More Life Ministries. He pointed out something in a message that he teaches that I haven't seen a lot of people catch, and this is the way that God revealed it to me, was through him. But the very way that Satan gained access into Job's life was through fear. We often wonder, why did this happen to Job? He was such a great man, and he did this and did that, and what did God do that for him, to him for? Why did God allow this? And the truth is that Job did this. And the key is that Job began to fear something other than God, and here's where it states this. We'll go to the New King James Version, and this is Job 3:25. He says, "For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me, and what I dreaded has happened to me." The New American Standard Bible says, "For what I fear comes upon me, and what I dread encounters me." And there are other translations, many. But they all have the same meaning, and that is that Job stopped fearing God, and he began fearing his situation going bad, or his children getting killed, which, by the way, there were some issues within his family anyway. But he began to fear something other than God, and that's how the enemy ended up getting access into his life. So we're going to stop it here today, and we're going to pick this up in the next message. But please stay with us. We're going to keep learning about fear and what it actually is. So thank you.